Question 14. So we've got a circle with an equation that meets the axis at 3 points. What is the value of k? Oh, well, as we look at this, it took me a while to kind of, visualise it. Probably quite a hard-fought 2 marks if you're in an exam under pressure. But yeah, okay, let's have a little think. So I'll draw out some axes. And again, it's a good question to make you feel the pressure of the exam, because time is of the essence. It's the kind of question I think I would have come back to maybe and said, oof, right, I'll think about that if I've got some time, So the first thing I'd be saying is, well, I've got a circle. I know the centre is going to be 6 and 5. So I know the centre is along 6 and up 5. So it's along here somewhere, So each time I've got a centre just up here. Now, if it was to touch the coordinates 3 times, okay, let's think what that would look like. If it touched it twice, say, see I drew it, did something like this. Again, this is more like an ellipse than a circle, I do apologise, but there we go. I'll try that one more time. Just as, more that bit I was trying to get rid of. Okay. Something like that. If that's it touching it twice, yeah. So if it's touching that twice, that doesn't really make sense, does it? Because this distance here is 5, and this distance here would be 6 if you look at the axes. So you're thinking, right, that doesn't quite make sense, but that's how it would touch if it was touching it twice. So what if it was touching it just once then? Well, if my radius was 5, so let's draw that again, where I've got 5 here. My circle would be doing something. I'll draw doing something like this, kind of. So you've got another 5 over here. So you've got a little gap in there of 1, because we know it goes out to 6 and up to 5. Yeah, so that would be it touching once if the radius was 5. So then you're thinking, okay, well, what if I make the radius 6? Because at that point, if I make it 6, it will touch here once. Okay, touch there once, but then the bottom of it is going to cut through here twice, isn't it? It's going to do something like that, because we know we've gone along 6. Again, I'm not really drawing this very well, but we've gone along 6 and up 5. This distance here is 5. So that means that this little distance in here would be 1. Okay, so now I've got 1, 2, and 3 points of contact if I keep the radius as 6. Yeah. So that was the kind of journey I went on of, well, what happens if it touches it twice? Well, it can't touch it twice because of the centre is. Okay, what if my radius is 5? Well, that will touch it once. What if the radius is 6? Now we're touching here once and touching there twice. And at that point, you can do your equation. You can say, well, no, the radius is the square root of negative g squared, negative f squared, plus c. I don't know why I said negative, so it's just g and f, isn't it? Apologies. Yep, never mind that. So your g is going to be negative. That's what I got that in my head. Negative 6 squared. Add on negative 5 squared, and I'm taking away that k value. So that would be equal to the radius, which I've said in this case is 6. So I get rid of the square root sign. It's 36 is equal to 36 plus 25, take away k. So the 36's cancel out. I'll move k to the other side. So k is equal to 25. A little bit of, thinking going on there. That's, trying to think of where your circle sits, in relation to the axes. This sum, obviously not very hard, but I think that's a hard-fought 2 marks. Just to throw a little curveball, there's actually another possible solution that works as well. So that was the way my mind was working. And then I was speaking to somebody else and they said, well, wait a minute, what if those 3 points were here, here, and here, i.e. it goes through the through the origin. So if you've got your centre, which we said was 6 and 5, okay, if that was your radius, say, I'll just drop out those little, then it was going through those axes, but just my sketch is now not going to quite work for that. But if we called that a radius here, okay, that's my radius. If I sweep that, I'll do it in red. It's going to do something like that. It's going to cut through there once, and then it's going to cut through here once, and then back through the origin. So there's your 3 points of contact. So that's a very interesting way of thinking about it. So if you do that, you're saying, okay, well, how do you work out this radius? Well, I know the height is 5 and the length is 6. So you can use your Pythagoras to work out the radius. So you'd say r squared is 5 squared plus 6 squared. So r squared is 25 plus 36. So r squared is going to be 61. So r is root 61. And then you're back to this point here, where you're saying the radius of root 61 is equal to the square root of negative 6 squared plus negative 5 squared, take away k. So root 61 is the square root of 36 plus 25, take away k. So that's going to give me root 61 is equal to root 61 take away k. Which means that k is going to be equal to 0, isn't it? Because the only thing different between this and this is nothing. Root 61 is root 61 take away 0. So yeah, two possible options. I hadn't really spotted that one first time of asking. In my head, I very quickly thought, yeah, we're going to have a 1 point here and 2 points here. It'll be related to the radius and the centre. But if that's where your head went, what good for you. That's a great solution. Probably slightly more difficult, I'd say, than this one, but a very valid way of thinking on it. Well, if it's cutting the axis 3 times, that's the centre, and then here and here. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So 2 ways to solve that question. But again, with the circle, very much thinking about your CRE. What's your centre? What's your radius? What's the given the equation this time? And also having a nice little sketch. The minute you draw a sketch out, it really does focus the mind. Without a sketch, I think to me that's just quite hard to picture. But the minute you're drawing in your different diagrams, well, that's only 1 point. Oh, this is 3 points. Well, where's my radius? What's that distance there? Oh, that's going to be the 6 because it's the x coordinate from So the minute you start drawing a nice sketch and labeling up and picturing, does make things a lot easier. So I hope that was helpful. Tricky little 2 marks. Good question from the excavator.